Eric worked with Beyond Stillness through 11 guided reflection sessions to craft and share this powerful narrative. This interview was recorded during our final meeting together. To learn more about our nonprofit's programs and services, or to sponsor a guest on their story crafting journey, please visit www.beyondstillness.org.
Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke is made possible by our guests and tax-deductible donations from friends and listeners like you. Join us in empowering stroke survivors with stories of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope at www.beyondstillness.org.
Today, we welcome guest Eric Anderson, who discovered his greatest strength in his most vulnerable moment. When a sudden stroke left him completely paralyzed from the neck down, Eric realized he still possessed what he calls his superpower, the ability to choose his thoughts, even when everything else was beyond his control. Join us as Eric shows how he transformed his medical crisis into a masterclass in resilience. He built a positivity plan that changed his recovery's trajectory and learned the profound difference between enduring challenges and embracing them. His story reveals how sometimes our most difficult moments become a gateway to our most meaningful purpose. Thank you for joining us for part 2, Eric Anderson's interview. Hello and welcome to Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke. Stroke offers a powerful, life-changing shift in perspective. Each colorful memory creates a parable for life's greater teachings, a compass for journeys ahead, and inspired wisdom for unique growth. Beyond Stillness offers a moment of pause for storytelling and reflection. Ultimately, we create a welcoming environment that reveres the moment beyond stroke's paralysis. Still moments unite humanity and divinity. I'm your host, Molly Bucola. As we begin today, we take a moment of pause to honor the way that wisdom has emerged through recovery. And we give thanks. Now, Eric Anderson's interview. Eric, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Welcome.
So let's start with something that really stood out to me, your mindset. You come across as such a positive person, and you always have anecdotes that make me think, make other people in our groups think. And in your story, you talked about being an intentional person, choosing your thoughts, your words, your environment, even who you allow into the room. But for stroke survivors who are in a darker place, especially right now, or they're struggling to be intentional, what helped you take that first step?
For me, it was finding my why. And for me, it was that I had a wife, Luella, and kids, 3 sons that were grown and their grandkids that I needed to be there for and do whatever I could, still be their husband, their father, their grandfather. So there was a lot of things that I had to look forward to and still wanted to accomplish in life. So my why was the important thing that I thought was the most basic thing I had to do. Along with that why, I shared it with the important people in my life, because when you do get down, it's good to have somebody who can say, hey, remember this, keep it in front of you, because that gives you the motivation to make the changes. But for me, just capturing my thoughts, and it's a process that you train for, you can always get better at it, but it's a continual process. We all have doubts. There's fears. You can find yourself going to some dark places, but being able to recognize that. And there's nothing wrong with that, but make the choice at that time. The thing is, nobody knows for sure in my situation, would I walk again? Would I not? I chose to say, I will. And that was important to have people around me. I just remember at the Acute Rehab Center, a wonderful nurse, Yeshi, She would come in each day and she'd have a Bible verse for me, but she would always say, you were going to walk again. You were going to dance. I think important is sharing your why, but also your plan with people who you trust and people who will be uplifting for you and not coddle you. In other words, maybe hold you accountable because you want to be held accountable.
Hmm. Who were some of those people for you?
My wife, but also I had some very good therapists who would allow me to challenge myself. In other words, sometimes there's a situation where we want to keep them safe, but at times you just need to be able to take that risk, maybe try something I had not done before, and they let me do it. I had one therapist, Laura, was very good, and she understood that, hey, maybe for my background in soccer or whatever, but I might stumble once I got to the point where I was somewhat ambulatory. At first, it's the panic, and they had the safety belt on me, but to let myself hop until I got my balance again. And that gave me the freedom to keep trying things in a safe environment. But I remember she was saying, as I'd be going down the hallway at the therapy place, some of the other therapists might say, isn't she watching him? But she had to allow me to trust myself. And Lowell had to learn that same thing, my wife, to say, let him try and do things. She's always willing to help. We had a good discussion several times about just let me do things. I'll let you know when I do need help. I had an example. My father had Parkinson's and bore that very gracefully for 16 years, but there's always challenges that come with that. Yeah. And as a family, we recognized and really appreciated my dad for his determination and his desire to remain independent. Oh. But at times, maybe we had to go to a function or church or whatever it might be, and Dad would want to do something on his own. It would just take so long, and there's stress for the family.
Yeah.
And I remember that, and I thought, okay, when I shared with my family right away was, I will not expect help, but I will accept it where it's needed. And I think they understood why I was saying that, and that was really a big thing. I think it helped smooth things over.
Wait, will you say that again? That sounds really powerful.
I will not expect help. Like, I don't expect you to do this for me all the time or et cetera. Accept it when it's needed. One of the toughest things right now without a sense of touch is trying to open up a Tupperware container. The little to-go thing, trying to, without feeling anything, pressing down on one side to hold it and trying to get it up. And the wall will just hear me. It's popping, not coming. But she knows just to let me do it. But I will also say, okay, it's a point where I'll ask for help to do something along that line. So that I learned from my dad and our family dynamics, and that served our family well during this rehab. So I'm glad I learned that lesson.
Yeah. It's interesting how we take lessons that we learned before our strokes and apply them now. And I guess that's how life works. But sometimes when we're in the thick of it, like you're living with your dad who has Parkinson's, and you're like, why?
Right.
Why? And we can glean lessons from that, because later now, as you're going through recovery, you're like, man, I learned from my dad. And I'm so thankful that I was attentive and learned to listen and observe him and see what I admire about him.
Well, you and I have chatted about there's a tapestry of life. And I really believe every person you meet is there for a reason. Now, we don't always know those reasons in some of the most minute little interactions we have, but it's there. And we never know what impact it's going to have either on us or on that other person.
Speaking of that, the anecdote that you gave in your story about the nurse Heather really has stuck with me. And Heather came into your room at night. She was vibrant. Her personality and everything she was wearing was colorful. Your connection with Heather was a chance happening, but she told you a story that stuck with you. Will you tell us what that meant to you?
Like I said, there's just some people when they enter a room, they bring that energy, and she's just a smile and just her outfit, bright and vibrant. But we're just chatting, and she shared a little bit about her family, and in particular, her son Jameson, who's 18 and blind. They had adopted him. And she shared how he was so joyful. He had so much fun in life. and how he loved playing beep ball. And I had never heard of beep ball before. It's basically like baseball for blind people. After hearing that, I thought, wow, they're using sounds and tones and buzzers and beeps to be able to locate the ball, find it, etc. And I made that comment to her that I said, amazing how when we lose one sense, our sense of sight, our sense of hearing becomes more acute. And her comment, our sense of hearing does not become more acute. We just learn to trust it and focus on it. And that's what that aha moment was. At that point in my recovery, to be able to trust that if I close my eyes, I'm not going to fall over because my cerebellum had been affected so dramatically there. But in hearing his story, here he is blind, but he's taking on this new challenge, beep ball. For me, it was a reminder to have faith. And faith is not a blind belief in something, but it's that ability to step out beyond your comfort zone and trust that it's all going to work out okay. You don't do anything rash, but challenge myself. It reminded me to challenge myself, to take on new things, and it would all work out. Heather shared that the reason Jameson was blind is that he was working in a battery factory and there was a chemical explosion. And that's what caused his blindness. It just got his eyes, his face was very disfigured, etc. Wow. But what she shared with me, another impactful thing, was that his lasting impression of himself was from that morning before the blast, before he went to work, looking at himself in the mirror, a handsome young man. That's how he remembers himself.
Yeah.
And that was a reminder to me that, you know what, I'm still the same person I was before. And I know for a lot of my friends I met through this journey, they wonder, who am I? What value do I have? But you still are the same person you are before. You're in a different circumstance, but your spirit, your personality is still you. And you've got a lot to offer. And just his example was one too, for me, a very important one.
Yeah. In your story, you also talked about a quote that came to mind early on in your time in the hospital. It was a Ram Dass quote that said, "All suffering is due to resistance."
Yeah.
And what did that mean to you early in recovery, but also what you're talking about now, further along in your journey?
Like I said, I was fortunate to have learned that before the stroke, but all suffering is due to resistance. It reminded me that suffering is brought on by ourselves. And it's coming from usually our ego. We think we can be in control of things that we can't be in control of. And we get frustrated because it's not going the way we want. And once I remember that quote, it really led to that moment of serenity or just letting go of the freedom there. I realized I'm not in control, but I never was meant to be in this situation. I've just got to trust and go along that line. It was really freeing, but it really allowed me to focus on what I could control. So you take your mental energy and your emotions and put it into what you can control. You talk about success in life, all that is just progressively realizing some worthwhile goal or dream.
Yeah.
If you focused on that, it's not the end result, it's the little victories along the way that give you joy. I remember it being an OT one day, and since I don't have a sense of touch, I was trying to do some task with fine motor skills. And she said, "Oh, this must be so frustrating for you."
Yeah.
And I looked at her and I said, "No, it's not. Because frustration is something I would bring to the table." Now, it wasn't always easy, but what I'd done to that point to realize, okay, this may be tough today. Breathe, just breathe and relax and say, so what? I may not be able to do it today, but that doesn't mean I won't be able to do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things as an athlete or coach, sometimes we get this competition with ourselves. I'm going to do this and this.
Yeah.
But I realize it's not in my control, some of these things that are sensation, whatever. So go with what I'm given and just do the very best I can. And tomorrow's another day. So just that acceptance of that eliminated a lot of frustration. And I really think when we're relaxed, we're in a much better state of mind for healing. We've been so well designed. When you think about the things that bring us joy, and when you feel joyful, you feel better. It's because physically we've got endorphins going through our bodies, serotonin and all that, and we're going to heal better in that situation. That's why compassion, those types of things, gratitude, if we're in a dark place now, just think of anything you can to be grateful for. I was working in sales. I'd cover a 10-state area, and many times I'd be on the road.
Yeah.
What if this had occurred when I was at a hotel by myself in Denver?
Hmm.
What would have happened? Instead of being 10 minutes away with my wife from an ER room,
Yeah.
I still had the cognitive function and the ability to communicate with my therapy team. Now, having met some friends with aphasia, what a blessing that was for me. I'm so grateful for that. But gratitude and compassion, I think, are really great ways to live, and your body is in a better healing space then.
Okay. Rick, listening to you, it's so motivating. And I think back to all these coaches and teachers that I've had throughout my life. And it's clear that you have been, one, a positive person, two, you were a coach before your stroke, and continue to welcome positive people around you and read positive things and cut off messages that might feel overwhelming or dark. You're a coach for yourself through recovery. And then you're offering that back to us when you get into these moments and you think, what can I learn from this? Or what am I grateful for? You're going back to the tools that you have been offering others. Thank you for doing so.
I appreciate that. They are just tools, right? But there's a lot of joy that comes from that. I'm so blessed in it. Sometimes we don't see things for decades, but then you look back and think, wow, it's a wonderful tapestry in life. It really is.
Your story is full of love and connection and childlike curiosity. Will you talk to us about your grandchildren and role they played in your recovery?
Oh, it was huge. At that time, we had 2 grandchildren. Julia was 3.5, and Levi was 2. And my wife, Luella, would bring them, each of them, 1 time per week to therapy. And I remember once I was finally in a wheelchair with my sense of touch, trying to move a wheelchair with my hands, the wheels, it wouldn't work. My fingers had caught in the spokes, etc. So I need to be pushed. And I just remember one incident where I was going down the hallway towards the nurse's station in the wheelchair. I was moving, but the people could not see, how's he moving? And soon they heard behind me, my little 2-year-old son, Levi, I push Papa, I push Papa, I push Papa. And they got the biggest kick out of that. Levi enjoyed that so much. Julia would be involved with therapy sessions. I remember one time I was just standing up working with a therapist walking backwards or shuffling. And I saw Julia at the doorway. I said, Julia, Papa's walking backwards without missing a beat. Well, Papa, I can run backwards. The staff, everybody in the gym just roared, childlike. I hope I always keep a childlike curiosity about life because you live in the moment. Who says that therapy has to be a grind? Make a game of it. For them, there's no time frames.
Yeah.
There's no adults should be doing this. It's play. And my therapy, I didn't call it work for this reason. It was play. And you relax, you have fun with them. But they'd be throwing the beach ball with me or doing whatever. But it could be the simple things, but it really is a reminder to just live in the moment. That's one of the coolest things I picked up from them. Stroke or not stroke, grandkids are great for that. What I heard about and I could see is the impact they had on the therapists, but also really importantly was on the other families that were there.
Oh.
They could see the joy, and so they were involving their families more in therapy and recognizing that it could be a great bonding thing. At any age, you could be compassionate. You're walking with somebody else.
Yeah. That curiosity, that playfulness, and this way of being open and present. It's just so beautiful. It's a gift to everyone around. You said they brightened up the room.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stroke survivor, Deb Shaw, championed the challenge, created booklets, games that people can play with their family members to connect. But there's this playful sense about it. And I love that organization because they're always trying to come up with ways that stroke survivors can inspire other people and be inspired. And one of them is play. Thanks, Eric, for sharing that. In your story, you said, I've always enjoyed helping other people and whatever was needed at the time. It led to personal connections.
I believe that every person has dignity And again, what I mentioned earlier, there's a reason you meet with people in your life. But you get a chance to talk with them and find out just what they need at that time. It doesn't have to be anything great. Maybe it's just a year or a time together. But that's what compassion is. Just walking with somebody on their journey. And that's what creates connection in life. I really believe that. That's where connection comes from, is that compassion, the walking with somebody. And that's been enhanced in my life since the stroke, because one of the things that's a blessing of what I went through with the 16, 17 weeks is that all the work things were taken care of. All those things are out of mind, really. So it was just a matter of being there and being present. At Courage Ken, you get to hear people's story. Not one of us ever planned to be there in our life, but we all were. But everybody had a different background and a different story. And things slowed down enough, and I'm so thankful for that you got a chance to hear people's story and be with them. And man, people are unique and everybody has a story. It's a shame we don't get a chance to hear people's more. And I really believe in today's society, if we had more people walking each other's shoes, man, life would be so much better.
Okay. That's one thing that I love about Beyond Stillness is we have deep stories from people from all walks of life, all over the country, some outside of the country, different ages, different backgrounds, and we all come together and we listen to each other's stories and we gather monthly and we're together in this and we admire each other person.
So right, I've so enjoyed that.
Me too. I feel totally honored to be in the presence of such a community, and each person is there to lift each other up. And in a way, it's like the circle table that you talk about in your story. Will you tell us a little bit more about the people that you met at Courage Cami?
Yeah. I remember meeting Paula. She was in a wheelchair and motorized and she barely used her left hand. But I remember her being at the table the first time I met her. Her aide was sitting next to her and the aide would have to feed her. And the first comment I heard is Paula saying, "Oh, could you give me some soup? I'm not able to feed myself yet." And I don't know what it was, but that word "yet" is what really struck me as far as just her expectation, but the ability to gracefully accept help. That's another thing that I've learned. We all enjoy helping other people, the giving process. There's a grace in that, right? But there's really also an equal grace, and there has to be an equal grace in receiving. And maybe speaking for the caregivers, I know Luella, when I was coming home from rehab to live at home for a while, obviously a lot of things had to change or she needed help. And a daughter-in-law, Lindsay, was wonderful at organizing things. She put together a care calendar, et cetera. I know Luella was a bit hesitant about asking other people for help, et cetera. Yeah. So we had a good conversation about it. I asked her, "Luella, you love helping people, right? You feel good about that?" She says, "Yeah." I said, "Do you expect people to repay you for that?" "Well, no. I said, "So you receive joy from being able to help people. Why not let somebody else have the joy of helping you or helping us?" I think it applies to everybody. In order to be able to have the joy of giving, somebody has to allow the help to be accepted. It's a two-way street. And once we had that conversation, it really made life a lot more enjoyable, relaxing, et cetera. And always just saying thank you. Thank you.
That's one thing that I sometimes find uncomfortable is receiving. And you're right. The act of receiving can also be a gift.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I'm just going to sit with that for a second. That's beautiful. It's beautiful. So in many ways now, Eric, you continue to help others after your stroke. And you mentioned receiving, but you also help others in a variety of ways now, including me. I love our conversations.
Too.
Please share a little bit about what that looks like in your life now, helping others.
I recognize that I'm not going to be able yet to help people with maybe a lot of physical things. So what I might do in that situation, maybe connect them with somebody who can help in that situation. But I really believe I'm a better coach now because recognizing what I needed to learn to do to be able to control the body from the neck down, to feed yourself, to clothe yourself, to go to the bathroom, all these types, to walk. It didn't happen overnight. And I recognized that when I first started, okay, going to walk, I just need to get my leg muscles working. Oh no, it's a lot more than that. There's all the little muscles everywhere, the core, etc. But I'm better now at understanding and able to relate to breaking a task down into small, simple steps, and then gradually mastering those. And as a coach, getting people to realize, don't focus on the end thing and get frustrated. Just look at what you're able to do today and say, hey, I've accomplished that.
Yeah.
Step one.
Yeah.
Let's work on step two now. And each one of those is a victory. It's a matter of really keeping focused on the little victories in life, and that's all we're called to do. Step one, put in front of the other. Tomorrow will take care of itself, but just enjoy today. And that's that living in the moment thing there too.
Absolutely.
But maybe it's not physically doing things, but maybe just a story, maybe authentically offering resilience or sharing resilience and hope. Some things you can't speak about, but it can just be by example, right? I've had a wonderful blessing in this journey in that my wife, my sons, my grandchildren, they've seen me fall and fail many times in this process. But they also got to see me get back up again. And what better lesson or legacy can you have for your kids? So you don't have to say anything. Just share your joy.
Eric, thank you. The way that you see the big picture and offer us a big, overarching, beautiful, woven sense of our own lives, while also breaking it down into little steps. The way that you connect giving and receiving. The way you talk about childlike play, compassion, presence, curiosity, little steps, and inviting each individual that you mentioned into your big picture of recovery is beautiful. Thank you.
It's not our design. I think there's a lot of other things that come into play there. That tapestry.
I believe so too.
Yeah.
Thank you, Eric.
Well,
You use the word joy. It's been a joy to work with you throughout the past couple of months. The way that you bring in your creativity, your laughter, and tools to each of our conversations. And you also offer very fitting stories for each conversation. And I learn through stories. I learn through people.
You all do.
And that's why Beyond Stillness really speaks to me and thankfully our community of listeners. So thank you for crafting and sharing your story.
Well, thank you for the space. I'm trying to remember, how did I even become aware of Beyond Stillness? But man, have I been blessed. But the space you create for us, like I said, the individuals I've met, wow, what a cast. Wonderful.
And you're part of that, Eric. You're part of that. The way that you give each month by giving and receiving. You show up, you listen. You show up, you share. I'm just so thankful that you found us, however you found us. And you continue to show up as you are. So thank you, Eric.
My pleasure. I look forward to keeping in touch.
Storytelling empowers us to share our experiences in a way that invites others to reflect on their own. In closing, we offer a reflection question, an opportunity to spark dialogue with yourself, friends, family, or fellow stroke survivors. In a moment, I'll read the community conversation prompt. You'll also find it in the episode description. In what ways have you chosen your environment or thoughts in order to create a positive space. We'd love to hear your reflections. Join the conversation on Facebook or Instagram at Stories After Stroke. Thank you for listening to Part 2, Eric Anderson's interview. For the full story, please listen to Part 1, Eric Anderson's story.
Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke is made possible by our guests and tax-deductible donations from friends and listeners like you. Join us in empowering stroke survivors with stories of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope at www.beyondstillness.org.
Each colorful memory creates a parable for life's greater teachings, a compass for journeys ahead, and inspired wisdom for unique growth. Eric reminds us that we all possess an unshakable superpower, the ability to choose our thoughts, even in the most challenging moments. Remember, as part of the stroke community, you are more than supportive. You are inspirational. If this story resonated with you, please like, share, subscribe, or leave a review to help others find these powerful stories too. To support more stroke survivors in articulating and publicly sharing their stories, please consider donating to Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke. Together, we amplify diverse stories of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope.